In a world saturated with communication, sharing, and forced transparency, the art of strategic silence has been largely forgotten. While many are busy broadcasting their every thought and intention, truly effective individuals understand the power of holding back. Niccolò Machiavelli, the 16th-century Florentine philosopher, deeply grasped this concept. Although celebrated for his direct advice in The Prince, his most profound insights often lie in what should remain unsaid. He observed that, the vulgar crowd always is taken by appearances, recognizing that speech creates these appearances, while silence preserves reality. In an era of oversharing, those who master strategic silence not only protect their standing but also achieve what constant communicators cannot: they win while others are still talking about winning. The high price of unnecessary speech. Machiavelli lived in a time when careless words could lead to severe consequences. Even today, unnecessary speech creates vulnerabilities that silence avoids. As Machiavelli noted, men in general judge more by the eyes than by the hands, meaning that everyone can observe, but few truly understand. Constant talkers offer endless opportunities for others to judge them, revealing little about their true capabilities. Every word spoken carries costs that silence does not. Speech creates commitments, declaring intentions binds you to them, making you appear inconsistent if you change course. Remaining silent about your plans allows for adaptation without explanation. Speech exposes your thinking. The more you explain, the more you reveal about your thought processes and limitations, which others can exploit. Machiavelli believed that a ruler's intelligence could be judged by the company they keep. Similarly, one's strategic capacity can be gauged by how much they unnecessarily reveal. Compulsive speech diminishes mystique and authority. It is far safer to be feared than loved, Machiavelli famously wrote, and fear requires distance and mystery. Leaders who constantly explain every decision become ordinary, losing the respect commanded by the extraordinary. Consider modern examples: the colleague who speaks in every meeting regardless of expertise loses impact, the friend who overshares on social media becomes predictable, the negotiator who fills silences with concessions forfeits leverage, and the leader who responds to every criticism legitimizes their critics. Machiavelli would see modern transparency not as authenticity but as strategic mispractice, a voluntary surrender of power. 3 forms of strategic silence. Machiavellian silence is not merely an absence of speech, it's a deliberate communicative strategy with distinct objectives. Information-gathering silence, Machiavelli stated, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool speaks immediately, revealing their hand and learning nothing. The wise person remains silent, allowing others to expose their thoughts and weaknesses, gaining an asymmetric information advantage. This principle is evident in negotiations: whoever speaks first often loses. Relationships: good listeners understand dynamics better, and competitions: those who announce strategies prematurely often underperform. Authority-building silence. Machiavelli understood that power relies on perception, which can be enhanced through calculated reticence. He advised a prince to be both fox and lion, and part of the fox's cunning is knowing when silence bolsters authority. When a leader speaks selectively on significant issues, their words carry greater weight. Responding to criticism only when necessary projects confidence, not insecurity. This is why powerful figures speak less but more deliberately. The nervous junior executive overtalks, the CEO makes brief, decisive statements. Ambiguity-preserving silence. Machiavelli's advice: since it is difficult to join them together, it is safer to be feared than to be loved when one of the two must be lacking, extends to all situations where maintaining multiple interpretations serves strategic interests. This type of silence allows others to project their own hopes and fears onto your position. By refusing to clarify, you can appeal to different groups with contradictory expectations, maintain freedom of action, and preserve deniability. Politicians use vague statements to allow different audiences to hear what they want, and effective negotiators avoid clear positions that might prematurely limit agreements. Strategic silence, in these cases, is not deception but a recognition that premature clarity can undermine objectives. Machiavelli saw no relation between politics and morals, effective strategy often requires flexibility that excessive communication compromises. The psychological power of silence. Beyond its tactical advantages, Machiavellian silence exerts powerful psychological effects. Silence creates projection spaces. Human minds instinctively fill informational voids. When you remain silent, others project their own fears, hopes, or assumptions, revealing their positions while you maintain yours. This leverages a human tendency without requiring active deception, as seen with skilled interrogators who use silence to elicit information, or in negotiations where the side that tolerates silence often secures better terms. Silence establishes dominance. The person who speaks first, most frequently, or at greatest length subtly positions themselves as seeking approval. The person who speaks less, more selectively, or only after others have committed, implicitly claims the role of judge. This reflects Machiavelli's better to be feared than loved principle. Silence may not inspire love, but it commands respect. This is why job candidates who ask more questions often perform better. The quiet person in meetings receives more serious consideration, and respectful silence in conflicts can be more effective than passionate argument. Silence creates mystique. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, Machiavelli noted. What cannot be fully seen or understood often appears more formidable. The person who reveals everything becomes ordinary, while selective revelation maintains an element of mystery that magnifies perceived capabilities. A leader who explains every thought demystifies their role. One who shares conclusions while keeping deliberations private reinforces authority. This isn't deception but an understanding that leadership depends partly on the perception of superior capability. The dangerous allure of transparency. Modern culture often views transparency as a virtue and silence as suspicious. We are told to just be authentic and share your truth. However, this advice contradicts Machiavelli's strategic insights. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present, he wrote, recognizing that binding oneself to past declarations can undermine present interests. The modern obsession with transparency demands this very binding. Machiavelli did not advocate dishonesty, but selective disclosure, sharing what advances objectives and withholding what does not. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception, could be rephrased as, never attempt to win by unnecessary disclosure what can be won by strategic silence. The transparency trap manifests in sharing incomplete work, voicing half-formed opinions, or revealing negotiating positions prematurely. Machiavelli would see these as strategic mistakes that surrender power. The transparent person becomes predictable, manipulable, and ordinary, undermining their influence. The Machiavellian communicator speaks not to express themselves, but to achieve specific objectives. They withhold not to deceive, but to preserve options. They maintain silence not from insecurity, but from strategic discipline. Practical application, the discipline of silence. Applying Machiavelli's strategy isn't about being completely taciturn, but about disciplined speech. Practice information asymmetry. Before speaking on important matters, understand others' positions. Ask questions, listen for what's unsaid, and gather intelligence while revealing little. This is crucial in negotiations and workplace dynamics. Cultivate strategic ambiguity. When clarity would prematurely limit options, maintain flexibility by avoiding unnecessary specificity. This allows for adaptation in leadership, personal relationships, and competitive situations. Develop comfort with silence as a power position. Most people find silence uncomfortable and rush to fill it, often revealing too much or making concessions. Embrace these moments. In negotiations, allow silence after stating your position. In conflicts, listen completely before responding. In leadership, deliver decisions without unnecessary justification. The strategic whisper. Machiavelli's strategy doesn't advocate never speaking, but speaking only when it serves objectives better than silence. The master of this approach creates a strategic contrast between what is revealed and what remains private. In a world of oversharing, selective disclosure makes words carry greater weight, positions generate more interest, and influence expands. This requires discipline, patience to listen, restraint to withhold, and strategic awareness to recognize when silence is more effective. The irony is that the most successful practitioners of Machiavelli's silence often go unrecognized. We notice the loud and transparent, while the masters of strategic silence achieve their goals without drawing attention to their methods. They shut up and win while others are still talking about winning. Machiavelli's insights reveal a profound understanding of human psychology and power dynamics. In an age of information overload, his strategy offers a counterintuitive path to influence: say less, observe more, reveal selectively, and let results speak louder than words. Those who master this approach don't just participate, they prevail.